Welcome to our tutorial, and today we are going to learn how to search for data or information in an SQLite database using the ADO.NET data providers. And in this form we can see we've got a text box here named ts_txt search, and also we've got a button named ts button search btn search. And in our text box we are going to supply the search parameters, and in our case we will use the first name or the last name. And when we click on the search button, we will find information from our SQLite database, that is the contacts table, and display it in this contact grid here named the contacts grid, which is a data grid view. So I will double click on the search button to expose the code view, and here we are inside the click event handler for the button, and on top we can see we have imported from the system.data and system.data.SQLite library that we require when we are using the SQLite database. And also we have got the connection string here, which specifies our database, which is contact.db, and the version of the SQLite database that we are using, and the new attributes, which is set to true, tells us that whenever we are running our application and does not find the contacts database, to create a new one. So I will go down to the button search event handler, and I will start by writing the SQL statement to retrieve the data from our contacts table. So I'll create a variable that will hold the SQL statement. So I'll say dim SQL search as a string is equal, then I will say select all from TBL contacts, that's the name of our database, of our table, where first name then we'll say like, that means anything that resembles the search parameter, we retrieve that. So we say first name like, then I will say at param, or last name like at param. Then we need to remember that the SQL statements end with a semicolon. Then now I will create a connection object. So I will create a variable dim obj connection as new SQLite connection, and I will supply the connection string information, and this is the connection string that is up here. And I will also create a command object named object command as new SQLite command, and I will supply the connection object as its parameter, the connection object, sorry. Then now I will bind the parameters, the param1, using the command object. So I'll say command dot parameters dot add with value. Then I will it needs to reside in a double quotation marks. So I'll say at param to reference this placeholder. Then I will supply the value, which is ts txt search dot text. But now in our case, we need to realize that we are using the SQL statement, and therefore we need to supply the wildcard characters. In our case, we will use the %sign. So and that is the concatenation character, and I will use wildcard characters. So basically the %wildcard characters for the SQL statement tells us that anything from the txt search that we get, just retrieve that. And after that, we are going to set the command type. And we are saying that the command type is going to be a text unless we are using a stored procedure. We can say the command type dot stored procedure. And also we are going to specify the command text itself equals the SQL search. Then now, because we want to display that information in the data grid view named contacts grid, we need to create a data adapter so that we can be able to supply a data table with information and use it for the data the data table as data source for our data grid view. So I will say dim data adapter as new SQLite data adapter, and I'm going to supply the command object. Then I will also create a data table object as new data table. Then I'm going to fill the data table, which is an in-memory data source, with this information that we'll have retrieved from our contacts table. The data adapter is going to take care of opening the database, closing it, and executing the SQL statement. So we don't need to run the execute reader or execute Scala or execute non-query. The data adapter is going to do that for us on our behalf. So now we are going to fill the data table with that information from our contacts table, and we are going to say data adapter dot fill, and we supply the data table. The next thing that we're going to do is present the information that we have retrieved from our contacts table in the data grid view. So I'll have to clear any information or any records that are already available from our data grid view, and I will say contacts grid dot columns dot clear, and I will supply new information. I'll say contact grid dot data source equals the data table. So now this is our code that we need to search data in an SQLite database. So I'll run my project, and it's going to build. As you can see, it might take time, but not a lot of time. So the build has finished, and now it was successful because we can see our contacts manager form. Now I will search. Maybe I will use the WAY for the Dwayne. So I'll say way, and when I search, it gives me information about Dwayne Johnson's. If I say Sam, it will give me information about Sam. I can say Johnson's. If I supply information that is not nothing will be displayed. So I'll say Sam. So thank you very much. I hope you enjoyed. Bye bye.